Liberal Viewer presents.
So Fox News has broadcast a lot of biased stories about torture over the years, as I've documented in more than half a dozen videos on the topic, so I shouldn't have been surprised this week when lawyer and Fox News anchor Megyn Kelly brought on lawyer and Fox News anchor Greg Jarrett to talk about the arraignment for a military trial at Guantanamo of alleged 9/11 mastermind Khalid Sheikh Mohammed that included a comparison of what evidence would be admissible in a regular trial in federal court versus what evidence will be admissible at this military trial, leaving out any mention of the biggest issue, admission of evidence obtained by torture, as you can see here.
Because KSM was an enemy combatant captured overseas in the equivalent of battlefield conditions, he was naturally not read Miranda rights or granted counsel, nor was there a warrant for all that evidence seized. Now, in a federal court, that is a huge problem. A lot of the incriminating evidence, including any confession, would have likely been excluded.
Now, the reason a confession may have been excluded in federal court and may yet be excluded even in the military trial is not because of lack of Miranda warnings or lack of a warrant, but because it was obtained by waterboarding Khalid Sheikh Mohammed 183 times, and any chance that supposedly straight news anchor Greg Jarrett's failure to mention the torture issue was just an innocent mistake was dispelled by his failure to mention torture or even coercion in the example he used of a terrorism trial in federal court you can see in the continuation of that clip here.
And that's precisely what happened in the case of this guy, Ahmed Gilani, the very first Gitmo detainee to be tried in a civilian court. Critical evidence was tossed out under strict federal rules that do not necessarily apply in a military tribunal. And what happened there? Megyn Gilani was acquitted, as you know, on all but one of the more than 280 charges of terrorism. In his case, was supposed to be the easiest of all. Megyn?
Wow. Greg, thank you.
Now, not only did both Fox News lawyers there fail to mention that Ahmed Gilani got a life sentence for his conviction in federal court, but they also again failed to mention what I covered in my 2010 Fox News bias video about the Gilani case, that the federal prosecutor hired by the Bush administration in that case told the court to, quote, assume in deciding this motion that everything Gilani said while in CIA custody was coerced, unquote. And the fact that these two lawyers and Fox News anchors could get through an entire discussion of these evidentiary issues without ever mentioning torture, waterboarding, or coerced confessions seems actually dishonest to me, but I want to know what you think. Is there any honest way to discuss the issues with the evidence against Khalid Sheikh Mohammed without ever mentioning torture, waterboarding, or coerced confessions? And on the bigger question, doesn't basic fairness require any court, even a military court, to refuse to consider evidence obtained by torture?
YouTube, you decide.